Afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for coming back. Nice to see everyone again. And again, thank you for the role you play in getting our community up to speed on what's been happening. The work to restore water function continues. We've been at it nonstop. We continue to have some positive forward progress. Have some more pumps and some more filters that have come online today, and pressure continues to return to the system, and continue to distribute water into the reservoir. So right now we have 5 pumps that are in operation, 15 filters that are working. And we are up to 69 million gallons a day, and that's up from 45 earlier today. And so we really are seeing significant improvements in the water output. And remember what I said earlier this morning, that the average consumption this time of year is about 45 gallons a day. And so now we're exceeding average consumption. But remember that for water to actually be able to flow at full pressure into homes, we are going to need to see we're going to see the water level in our reservoir rise up comfortably above 10 feet. Right now, we're still right at about 7 feet. It's the same height that we were at this morning, and because consumption has opened up, right, people have seen, oh, my toilet's flush, my water's running. We've seen significant consumption around the day, which is why we've held this steady state at about 7 feet in the reservoir. So these levels will fluctuate. I do expect as we head into tonight, consumption will drop down, reservoir levels will rise up. And again, our goal is to try to get up above 10 feet and hold that consistently. The good news is that water is flowing again, and people have experienced this. We've had a lot of positive feedback from people all over the city. We have pump stations north side and the east end of the city that our teams have gone out to, primed those pumps, cleared those pumps, and so those pumps are now working. Those will start to feed neighborhoods in the north side, moving up into Hanover, and the neighborhoods in the east end, fueling water out into eastern Henrico as well. There is a really important message here around conservation, though, right? Because the more usage that happens, the longer we go without being able to fully pressurize the system. And fully pressurizing the system is not just important for people to get water pressure in their homes, although we want that, but we cannot start the clock on testing our water until we have full pressure throughout the system. So if we continue to see high rates of utilization, and that takes longer and longer and longer to get up to that 20 pounds of pressure, which we need throughout the entire system, we can't take our first sample to be able to lift the boiled water advisory until we have pressurized the entire system. So my plea to everybody, yes, excited that we have water, use it as sparingly as you can, because the faster that we get to full pressure throughout the system, the faster we can start that first test and the clock running on achieving 2 negative tests over the next couple of days to be able to lift the boiled water advisory. Until then, if we use excessive water, that's going to slow down our progress, and so it's so important that we just work together to conserve that water, right? And again, the boiled water advisory is yes, it's about health and safety, making sure that we have water that we can consume, but remember also, this is the issue that is keeping businesses closed. This is the issue that is keeping our schools closed, and so we really need to address, to accelerate the clearance process of and getting this boiled water advisory lifted as soon as we possibly can. So we're asking people not to overindulge in water use. What does this mean? It means if you can hold off on flushing a toilet a few different times, that would be great. If we can avoid washing dishes and doing laundry, let's do that. And yes, get cleaned up, but don't take excessively long showers. One more reminder about the water quality that you might see as it starts coming through the pipes. Remember, when we've had a few days of no pressure in the system and we start it back up, you may hear some sputtering. You may see the water look cloudy and then picking up sediment, so it may not be perfectly clear. It's going to take some time for all of that to clear. It does not mean it's unsafe to take a shower. You can absolutely do that, but remember, consuming water should not be done unless it's boiled. Thanks again to all the people in Richmond and the region. This has been, again, a very trying time. We need more than ever to band together and really do what we can for the good of the entire region. One of the phenomenal partners in all of this has been Superintendent Cameron of the Richmond Public Schools. I'd like to invite him up to share some updates on what's happening in RPS.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. First, let me just say thank you to the mayor and to all of our friends at the city who are working so incredibly hard around the clock to get us back to normal. Dr. Vul and I had the opportunity to forge a relationship during the crucible of the pandemic, and I can tell you there's no one better suited to lead us at this moment. So very grateful for your efforts. As I shared earlier today, I have closed RPS for the remainder of the week, and that really comes down to the fact that we, as the mayor just indicated, are still not at the point where the testing can begin, and so once that begins, then we're at least 16 hours out, which is likely going to bring us into Friday, and we don't want to open school without potable water. That would prevent us, obviously, from kids being able to drink and teachers being able to drink, but it would also preclude us from opening up our kitchens. We're prohibited from doing so without safe, clean water. And so it would really limit the ability of the school system to operate. We also, once pressure is fully restored, are going to need to restart many of our boilers, check all of our plumbing systems. We don't just have the water pressure issue, but also we have extremely low temperatures, and so we have to check for any issues with any of our pipes once the pressure comes back on. All of that to say we just did not feel it was safe to operate schools tomorrow or Friday, and so we will be closed and we will open on Monday. I don't make this decision lightly. I hate closing school. I say that as superintendent and as a parent. I know it is extremely inconvenient for many of our families, and I do apologize for that. But I've always made a commitment to RPS that we will put safety first, and safety dictates that we reopen on Monday. I do want to take the opportunity to remind everybody that RPS does a lot more than just teach reading and math. We are the source of food and so many social services for many children across Richmond. That is why today we partnered with Feed More to give out several hundred meals at Cardinal Elementary School on the south side. These are prepackaged meals that don't require any cooking or any water. We did the same at Henry Marsh Elementary in the East End, and we are working on food options for tomorrow and Friday as well. We'll have the details of that tomorrow morning. We'll be able to share that with the community so that any RPS families in need can come and get a meal to tide them over the course of next week. I also want to reiterate and echo the mayor's push for conservation. The sooner the pressure goes up, the sooner we're able to get kids back into school, and so please keep that in mind as you're considering your water usage over the next couple of days. I also just want to say thank you to the entire RPS community, to our custodians who've been working to get our schools back in shape, and to our communications team that's been working around the clock to keep everybody informed, to our principals who have been caring for their school communities, to everybody else. I'm just so grateful and appreciative of the love and support from them and from the entire city of Richmond. Extremely grateful, and I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has about school operations.
We'll do the same as before. We'll start from the left with Sarah and work our way down the line. And just please identify whether you're speaking to the superintendent or the mayor.
For the superintendent,
yes.
Are you going to have to do any calendar adjustments to account for students missing a full week of school?
We haven't made that determination just yet. We'll do that as we get into next week. We do have some days built into the calendar, but I want to take a look at what holidays we have coming up. We'll put something out on that probably towards the end of next week.
This is for Mayor Bula. I know that we struggled sort of to get the pumps back where we wanted. Has corrosion played any role in that? Is there any corrosion in the pumps that's kind of contributed to that struggle?
The question is, has corrosion played a role in any of the struggle to get pumps back online? Not that I know of. I mean, the major issue really was that many of these components were underwater. And so we had to open them up, dry them out, heat gun them, in some place replace fuses, replace other parts. So I don't know that corrosion was a big issue. I mean, again, I spent a lot of time in the water treatment plant Monday night and then again last night, and didn't see that as a major issue. As I said this morning, we will clearly be committed to a very thorough after-action report, and so we'll have a sense of, has that been an issue that's come up in the past and not been addressed, and did it play any part? But as of now, I don't know the answer to that.
This is for Mayor Bula. If progress continues at this rate, what's the timeline for when people might be able to have enough pressure to shower or flush when needed? And the second part of that is, in Henrico Presser just now, officials said they're hoping to get Verina back online because a Churchill tank is now up and running. So does that mean Henrico is still using Richmond's water, and if so, why?
That's always been the case. Do I need to repeat the questions, or is it helpful? Yes, okay. All right, Chair. Okay, the question was, in a Henrico press conference, they said that they're going to get Verina up and running, and why is Henrico using Richmond water? And sorry, Sabrina, what was the first question?
And the other one is, if progress continues at this rate, what's the timeline for when people can expect having enough pressure to shower when needed or flush the toilets as needed?
Okay, and when can people be able to shower and flush toilets as needed? So the Henrico question first. Our Richmond City Water Works is not designed to just support the city, right? It has supported almost the entirety of Hanover County, and then a big portion of the east end of Henrico, and parts of Chesterfield as well. When all of this started on Monday, we reached out to our regional partners, said, hey, we may be facing some issues, and so our regional partners started to divert and look and rely on their other sources. So for the western end of Henrico, relying on other sources of water to come in, Chesterfield was able to switch to their plant where the Appomattox River feeds them, but Hanover doesn't have as much of that option. So almost entirely, like I said, dependent on Richmond's waterworks. Also, the east end of Henrico is dependent on that Churchill water tower. So it's just part of the design of both how the whole operation is funded, how our pipes have been built out over the years to support the region. And so, as I said, part of why they were able to say we're going to get Verina back up soon is because when we were going around and starting those pumps, we started with North Side, which will feed many of the neighborhoods in North Side, and then move on up into Hanover, and then in the east end to fuel some of those neighborhoods in the east end of the city, and then out to eastern Henrico as well. Timeline. So the reservoir right now, as I said, is at 7 feet. We've had enough utilization over the day and just getting water back into the system that we haven't seen that move at all. I think as utilization drops off as we head into the later hours of the night, that will significantly increase the level in the reservoir, which will give us the pressure we need. So, again, people can take a shower, and we're just asking that people use water sparingly. And there are many, many parts of the city and the region where they're already able to do that. So it's a really hard question to answer with any specificity. But I do think if we're continuing to fuel at 70 million gallons a day at that rate, and then we see, after hours, we'll see the reservoir levels get to a point where we're pressurizing the entire system. And my hope is that if we can get pressures high enough, we'll start that testing as soon as we hit 20 PSI throughout the entire system.
Thanks, Grant. Question for Superintendent Cameras. So with the work that needs to be done once the pressure is restored and with incoming snow this weekend, is there any possibility of going virtual next week?
No. No, we're coming back on Monday. I feel confident that the forecasts indicate that the snow event on Saturday won't be sufficient to cause any issues with Monday, and I am deeply committed to reopening on Monday morning.
Yeah, question for Mayor Bula. I know you guys have said that after all of this, you're going to do a thorough review. You want to find out what exactly happened, what went wrong, what needs replacing. But like we just heard, there is snow coming on Saturday. Is there any risk of something going wrong again?
The question is, with the impending weather event, is there a risk of something going wrong again? listen, that risk always exists. We are doing everything we can to really accurately diagnose what happened, why did the power outage lead to flooding, and how do we avoid that from happening with this upcoming event. So we're doing a few things in preparation. I'll have more details on that tomorrow, but things like testing battery backup capacity, really understanding why the valves didn't open and led to flooding in the basement or in the wells. And so, yeah, I think that risk exists. Our job is to mitigate that risk, and so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Now, we also have the benefit of now having bypass tanks on site, right, and having a bunch of extra pumps to pump out the water. And so I hope it doesn't get to this, but obviously we would be more prepared with all of those additional equipment on site ready to go if something were to happen. But obviously we want to do everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen.
Next question.
Yeah, this is for Mayor Bola. Could you give us an update on populations, in hospitals, so area hospitals, and then folks who might not have been able to get to any of the distribution centers that were going on today, just our vulnerable populations?
Yeah, the question is, can I give an update on hospital populations and then water distribution to any other vulnerable populations? I don't actually have up-to-date information on the hospitals. I have a call that I was trying to plan later tonight with the heads of the hospitals just to check in and see how things are going. Our regional healthcare coalition has been driving a lot of that, the logistics around that, so making sure that these tankers that are coming in from outside the region are going to the hospitals to meet those water needs, but I don't have great information on that right now, I'm sorry. We have, in the city at least, had 11 water distribution sites. We will continue to run those sites and expand if needed and if able. We have a large amount of water coming in, as I mentioned this morning. Our state partners, the governor has done a great job of just reaching out to our private sector. I was just at an event with the governor where we were distributing water that Walmart had donated. And so they brought in 2 truckloads of water that we were donating to populations on the south side of the city. So I think we are in good shape as far as I can tell with distribution centers. We'll continue to monitor social media and 311 for people's requests and to try to get a sense of what the needs are. In addition to those 11 distribution sites, we are also doing, as I've mentioned over the last couple of days, more targeted deliveries to populations that aren't mobile, right? Senior living facilities, our jails, and so we'll continue that work. But absolutely, if you all can let us know what you're hearing in the community, and if there are other places and pockets that we need to be distributing water to, that would be super helpful to us.
Any last questions on this end of the room? Who's here? Okay.
Yeah, this is for Mayor Bullitt. In terms of DPW billing, especially for customers whose bills are estimated, could they be charged with water that they didn't use?
The question is, could DPU, I guess, and then the Department of Utilities billing, could customers potentially be charged for water they did not use? I think the only scenario I can imagine is if there was a break in the line that was on the individuals, on the customer side of that, right? Because there's the water main and then it leads over into the property line. So if there are breaks and then there's leakage, that's a possibility. But we'll have to monitor. We'll need customers to contact us immediately if they're not getting, or if they see breakage and they see leaking out in the yard or somewhere else. That would be very helpful so that we can address those issues as soon as they come up.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm sorry.